In today's video, I'll break down the entire story and all of the deaths in Weapons. The movie begins with the voice of a young girl calmly telling us of a strange story that no one has heard about. He explains that this isn't something you'd read or find online because the police or the so-called important people were so humiliated that they decided to cover everything up. It all began at an elementary school named Mabel, and it was an ordinary Wednesday, or at least that's how it seemed. Every classroom was full of children except for one, in Miss Justin's Candy's class. She was the new teacher there, and the only boy who sat there was named Alex. The rest of her students gone. They had disappeared the night before, vanishing at precisely 2:17 in the morning. According to the strange security footage, all the other kids woke up from their beds in the middle of the night, quietly opened their front doors and walked out into the darkness. And then nothing. They were never seen again. The cameras recorded them walking, but nobody knew exactly where they went. When the police questioned both Alex and Miss Candy, neither of them could offer any answers. The school closed down for an entire month, and when it finally reopened, they held a big meeting to discuss how they should handle the tragedy. And here is where the story truly begins. Chapter 1 is about Justin, where we see her sitting at that meeting looking all pale and heartbroken over what's happened. The principal tries to give a very calming speech, but then one angry parent interrupts, demanding to know why her class was the only one whose students disappeared, apart from a single boy. Others join in, insisting Miss Candy to speak. She steps up and insists that she has nothing to do with it, but the parents grow more hostile. The principal quickly escorts her away to cool the tension down. Later at the market, a young homeless man politely opens the door for her. She doesn't think much of it, but I'm telling you now, remember him. While shopping, Miss Candy gets a chilling phone call from an unknown number, someone threatening her. Shaken, she hangs up. When she gets home, she hears knocking at the door. She calls out, but there's no answer. It happens again and again, and still no response. Peeking through the peephole, she sees no one. The moment she steps outside, there's still no one there, but her car now has the word witch scrawled across it. It's very clear some furious parent blames her for the disappearances. The principal advises her to be patient, saying anger is natural in times like this. Well, you go ahead and get phone calls of people saying that they want to kill you because you don't know what happened to their children, and write little love messages on your car calling you a witch. Let's see how very calm and patient you end up being then, bitch. He also warns her not to discuss the matter with anyone, especially not with Alex, the lone survivor in her class. Investigators already cleared him, and he says to leave the boy alone, but Miss Candy can't shake her suspicion. One afternoon, she watches Alex leave school, wondering what type of secrets he might be keeping. She files a police report about the vandalism, and while there, she spots her ex-boyfriend, Paul. That night, they reconnected at a bar talking about their failed relationship and, of course, the 17 missing kids. Paul tells her to let the case go, but she refuses. Soon, she's following the school bus to find Alex's home. No one answers her knock, and peering through a gap in the window covered completely by newspaper, she sees a man and a woman inside, staring blankly and eerily still. Later at the supermarket, Paul's current girlfriend sneak attacks Miss Candy, accusing her of stealing him back. The store owner intervenes and letting Miss Candy escape. That night, Miss Candy dreams of being back in her classroom, dark and silent. All her missing students are lying lifeless on their desks. Only Alex raises his head with a face so horrifying it jolts her awake. And then after looking around, she then looks up and sees a shadowy figure clinging to the ceiling before vanishing. The next day, she tries to stop and ask Alex about the night of the disappearances. His answers are unsettling, like he's being controlled or threatened into silence. Watching his house from her car later, she dozes off and doesn't notice a creepy woman slip outside, sneak into her car, and cut off a piece of her hair. Chapter 2 focuses on Archer, a father whose own son vanished that night. Although he's an engineer, he's investigating the case himself. Watching his home security footage, he sees his boy running into the forest at exactly 2:17 a.m. At the police station, Archer pushes for more aggressive searches, but the sheriff brushes him off and warns him to stay away from Miss Candy. At night, Archer dreams of his son sneaking out again. In the dream, when he catches up, the boy's face morphs into something monstrous. Waking up, Archer studies a map and visits another family's house to review their camera footage. From the pattern of sidewalk tiles, he pinpoints the exact path the kids took straight toward a certain house. He walks up to Miss Candy to confront her, but she refuses to speak. Suddenly, the principal appears, running exactly like the missing kids in the footage, and attacks her. Archer defends her, realizing that the man is under some kind of spell. Chapter 3 is Paul's story. We see him at work, confronting a strange homeless addict named James. After a tense altercation, Paul lets him go, warning him never to cross his path again. But later, Paul ignores his wife's warnings to avoid alcohol and meets up with Candy again and ends up hitting that shit with all his might. And after he finishes laying down some crazy pipe, he heads to work and sees James reappearing at the police station, which leads us to chapter 4. The guy I told y'all about in the beginning. James is a petty thief struggling to pay rent, and one day he breaks into a car and finds belongings of a small boy. He tried to pawn it at the stove but then got rejected. Later he breaks into a house which turns out to be Alex's. Inside he finds 2 adults frozen on a couch, completely unresponsive. In the basement he discovers the missing children. Panicked, he flees until he sees a $50,000 reward poster and decides to turn them in. But when he tells Paul, the cop decides to see for himself. So he walks right on in, and by nightfall Paul hasn't returned. And when James finally sees him again, Paul is cold-eyed and controlled, dragging James back toward the house. Chapter 5 centers on Marcus, the school principal. A strange woman named Gladys, claiming to be Alex's aunt, visits him saying she cares for Alex's parents because they're sick. The next day she shows up on Marcus's doorstep and pretends to be thirsty and is let in. Inside she performs a bizarre ritual with a small object, then cuts a piece of Marcus's roommate's hair. As soon as that happens, I would have ran and grabbed the strap, but that wouldn't have been possible because she instantly rung the bell and Marcus is possessed and then brutally murders his own roommate, just repeatedly smashing his face in. And I'm really confused as to how he's still operating after all of that damage he's doing onto his roommate. Now we know Glades is the true villain. Soon Marcus runs through the streets in that same unnatural style as the kids, chasing Miss Candy. Archer saves her in a supermarket, but Marcus pursues again until he's suddenly hit by a car, ending his life. Later, Archer shows Miss Candy a map that all the kids' paths lead directly to Alex's house. Chapter 6 finally reveals Alex's side. We see a normal family life until Aunt Glades moves in after years of absence. Bitch was studying crazy spells and witchcraft for years. Alex immediately feels uneasy around her. At dinner, Glades forces Alex to watch as she magically makes his parents stab themselves with forks. What type of fucked up auntie you got, Alex? Glades then stops it and tells Alex that if he says anything, he'll kill his parents. Days later, she admits she's sick and needs his help. If he brings her something personal from each of his classmates, she'll heal his parents. Resentful of his bullies and desperate to save his mom and dad, Alex sneaks into class and steals their drawings. That night, Glades performs her ritual at 2:17 in the morning, and every student leaves home and walks towards Alex's house. When investigators arrive, Glades hides the children so well they find nothing. Alex spends his days feeding both his parents and the imprisoned children. Eventually, Paul and James join the cold-eyed ranks inside the house. Glades tells Alex to pack up because they're leaving tomorrow and warns him not to cross the salt. Outside, Archer and Candy watch the house. Deciding to act, they break in, fighting Paul and James. Upstairs, Alex accidentally crosses the salt, causing his parents to attack him. Katie desperately tries to get away from Paul, but she ends up yanking out the pistol and shooting him in the neck and in the head, killing him. She also helps out Archer by shooting James fatally. Archer is then bewitched into attacking Candy until Alex uses Glades' own magic to turn the children against her. They chase her through multiple houses until she is killed brutally. The voiceover in the beginning of the movie then returns saying that Alex's parents never recovered and some children couldn't speak for a whole year. And the whole reason why Glades did this was to drain the vitality of the children to preserve her youth. And the movie ends.